Previously on Balls.
Bollocks! We're halfway through our 2 hours of solid football on Balls Radio. We've spoken to Aaron McQuena. We've spoken to Joe Cran from Soccer Laduma. We will be speaking to Keegan Kruger, who does another show on Balls Radio called Blogs on Balls. And we're going to see if we can debate exactly. He really came to my attention when he said that Ajax Cape Town would give Kaizer Chiefs a game with their youngsters, and in fact they beat them. And ever since then, I've been watching closely what Keegan says. He says some very, very intelligent things on Twitter and in other places. But right now, our new this is our second week of TopOdds.com and Wings of Change combining with @ThumperPigeon on Twitter. He's given us 5,000 Rand in total to bet. Any profit that we make goes to the Wings of Change charity that we run here at Balls. In fact, haven't I got a Wings of Change thing that I could read out here? Wings of Change, it helps lots of people in this country. If you check out the Wings of Change video on the website on www.ballswithaz.co.za, you can see the kind of stuff that Darren and the guys get up to, and the various people involved in Wings of Change. Maz, I know you're involved. Is Nicole still involved? Hayley, that's
Hayley,
it. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind on this. Hayley, if you go to a Wings of Change golf day, for instance, you'll see all the great stars of South African sport. All the way last time I was there, comfort member, I was with Mark Batchelor, Mark Williams and Gavin Hunt. And then across the room was US Van der Vestes and all the kind of rugby blokes and the cricket blokes. And I know Paul Harris very involved here. And this whole Wings of Change thing, there's a video on our website on www.balls.co.za, so you can see the kinds of things that we do. Last week we helped a lad called Eddie with some food and clothes while he was looking for a job. That's the kind of thing we do. The same as Aaron McQuena was talking about, sport isn't just a standalone, let's pay to watch someone play sport. Sport is something that can help people, that can drag people out of a difficult situation, not just on the sporting field, but off it, using sport as an instrument for social change. That's what we like to do. So, is Brandon up? Brandon?
He's coming up now.
Brandon's coming.
Yeah.
Right. We'll be speaking to Brandon from TopOdds.com, www.topodds.com. Anyone that's listening or watching at the moment, we're about to to get into this, because this weekend is all about World Cup qualifiers in Europe, the first leg of, second leg of the African World Cup playoffs, the 5 African World Cup playoffs, also international friendlies all over the world. Brandon, are you there?
Yes, I know.
Brandon, I'm proud to announce, you might correct me on this, but by my timid calculations, I'm not a great betting man, but I do like sports betting. I'm not a great horse betting man. I think that last week, because South Africa beat Wales, we put 500 Rand on that. Because Newcastle upset Tottenham Hotspur, we put 500 Rand on that, and that was good odds. We managed to make 3,150 Rand for charity, but then we could have gone even further, but Arsenal let us down against Man United, clearly because of a sickness bug that was going around at the Emirates. Arsenal at Old Trafford beat them 1-0 by a man called Robin van Persie, who we know only too well at Arsenal. We're looking this week, Brandon, for 2 good bets to put 500 Rand each on that will give us a reasonable return for charity. We're able to reinvest the 1,000 Rand from last week that we kept. And Leon Petzer, the Thumper Pigeon, we'll be speaking to him just after this. And Brandon, I'm looking for some advice for you. Give us 2 or 3 bets in the world of football and in rugby, because there's so many good autumn internationals, aren't there, at the moment? Do you think, Brandon, is it worth a Scotland Springboks bet? Surely Springboks are going to be vast favourites, haven't they?
Yeah, well, after that performance against Wales, you would think so. But before we get into all that,
yes, go on.
We've actually got we got a bit of a surprise for you, Neil, from Top Odds. It's direct from David Moyes and the boys, and you need to hear this.
What's this? Sex Pistols.
So
what's that?
Throw that one in. We had to throw one in. A glory.
Well, thanks very much for that. Make my bloody morning, that did.
And especially the fact that you're wearing your Arsenal shirt. I mean, we had to throw that out.
Brandon, you're cruel, mate. Do you know how much it hurts Arsenal fans when Robin van Persie scores the only goal to win a game like that? And when Mesut Ozil played like we didn't really notice him. Although I was watching Orlando Pirates, obviously, both games kicked off at the same time. And I kept on turning over, hoping to see that Arsenal had kind of clawed something back, but they just didn't do it. Glory, glory, Man United. How can you play that on my show? I've lost all my credibility in the north of London now.
If you listen to our tips last week, I think we kind of, I know people didn't like it, but we kind of predicted Al Ali to win that game.
Yeah.
It was always going to be tough for Pirates. I mean, 10,000 lasers shining in your goalkeeper's face. You know, it was always going to be difficult there. But I think this week we can make money in the UEFA playoffs, the playoffs for the European sides to go to the World Cup. Yeah. I don't think I'd be putting my money on any friendlies if we're trying to make money for charity. I mean, you know, the competitive edge there, it's always questionable. Yeah. But I think when we spoke earlier, you mentioned Portugal, Sweden. This is a massive game for Portugal. Like you say, imagine the World Cup without Cristiano Ronaldo. It'll be something of a miss, that's for sure. But if you want to have a look at the odds there, Alan Bookmaker offering Portugal up at 13 to 20, World Sports Betting as well, 13 to 20. So Portugal are vast favourites in that game to win. I'm not sure how Sweden will perform. Portugal should win at home. What do you think, Neil?
Okay, right. Well, this is what I wanted to get at. I phoned Leon Petzer, the guy who's putting up the charity money for us. I said to him, I thought a possible bet would be Sweden to get a point in Portugal. Portugal, like Spain used to be, have had great football sides over the years. I go right back to the 60s and 70s when you had Mozambique's greatest player, Eusebio, playing up front for them. He got 4 goals against Korea in the 66 World Cup. Portugal always had this great side. Now they got Ronaldo. They never quite make it at the top level. The 2001 that they hosted the European Championship when they went down to Greece in the end. You've got to look at a situation where Portugal tend to have a better reputation than their results actually show. A little bit like there are other countries, Italy, like that at the moment. I'm looking at Sweden, and obviously, you know, they're not as fashionable as Portugal, but they've got great players all over Europe, and I can see them getting a point. What would the odds be on that? I'm just trying to find it here.
Is Ibrahimovic from Sweden?
Yes, of course. Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Ronaldo have been slagging each other off all week. The two great players, the greatest Swede ever in terms of hype is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Also, the greatest hairstyle ever owned by a footballer, apart from Nicholas Bentner. We're looking at a situation where Zlatan Ibrahimovic actually does produce the goods sometimes, but you know, against England in the last Europeans, he did nothing, and he only played in the game afterwards when they were already out. So he's also a bit of a internationally, like Ronaldo and Messi, he doesn't quite have the same reputation he has at club level. I've just got a slight feeling that perhaps Sweden, you know, might pull off something and manage to get a draw in Lisbon against Portugal. That might be a bet worth having. What do you think?
Yeah, most definitely. If you like the draw there, I mean, there's always value when you're backing a draw in a game. To me,
I hate backing a draw normally.
Yeah, to go against Portugal at home, but like you say, I mean, for the draw there, you can get 28 to 10 with World Sports Betting, and that's just under 3 to 1. Yeah. You put your 500 rand on there. I'm sure the Warren and the boys will give us a bit of a stretch, and you'll be looking at a 1,500 rand return plus your 500.
You keep your 500 rand, you get 1,500 back for the Wings of Change charity. I think I'm going to put that to Leon as a very good bet. But you know. Geez, what do I really know about how are Sweden at the moment? What are the injuries? What have Portugal got? Ronaldo's rumoured to have a bit of an injury as well. I think it's very interesting when Real Madrid pay you as much money as Ronaldo now gets. He's now the best paid player in the world. He's passed Samuel Eto'o, who's moved to Chelsea on loan. Cristiano Ronaldo, the best paid player in the world at the Bernabeu with Real Madrid. Is he going to actually turn 90 minutes for Portugal at the top of his game when he gets paid that much by Real Madrid? I always wonder about that.
I don't know if he plays if he's performed as well for Portugal as he has at club level.
No, he never really has.
And that's going to be a tough one. But another big game, I mean, is Ukraine and France. I mean, out of all the teams that could have drawn each other, I was hoping that Portugal and France drew each other. And, one of them wouldn't be there, make it easier for England, I suppose. But Ukraine and France. I mean, that's a very, very, very close game. Ukraine are at home. Surely Shevchenko's retired and he doesn't play for them anymore, am I correct?
He did play for them in the warm-up. So please just check if Shevchenko is actually going to play in that game. I'm just having a quick look at it now. The French, for a long time, didn't even look like they made the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, we saw a situation where he was coming back into it. I've got Andrei Shevchenko struggles in his professional golf debut. That's brilliant. I love it when that happens. Remember Julian Dix, the West Ham player? He tried to turn professional golfer. Roy Wegerle, the old South African that played for Blackburn and Coventry, also turned to professional golf. Doesn't quite work when you're actually playing, with guys that have played all their life. But Shevchenko won't be playing. He's rejected the job as international manager, and we're looking at a situation where France have to be favourites, but only because we know all their players. When you've got Benzema struggling for form at the moment, you've got a great French side that simply underperform and consistently underperform. Much like Portugal, much like Spain. I always say Spain, all the years I grew up, Spain were this side that never actually achieved anything, and then in the last 6-7 years they just win everything that they play for. So it can always happen. We can always look at things changing.
If you have a look at this game, you're saying France are favourite. In the betting, they're not. World Sports Betting offering 14-10. Lawrence Michael, that's Alan Bookmaker, also 14-10. Yeah. Ukraine are up at 11-10. So, you look at this game and you say, gee whiz, those French players, whether they're fighting with each other, whether they're fighting with a coach, whether they're in an uproar over, I don't know, who sat in the wrong seat in the dressing room, whatever it might be, they want to play at the World Cup. And with the talent of players that they have, geez, that 14-10's got to look a little bit enticing.
Yeah, but don't forget that's what's so interesting about these games. That's why I'm looking at Sweden for this. These are only the first legs of two-legged playoffs. Yes. So yes, Ukraine have got every chance of winning, at home against France. But in the return leg in Paris, the betting will go all the way around back the other way. Yeah, Again, this is one where, from my experience in these things with two-legged games in any competition, Champions League, another case in point, often in the first leg, you can get both sides settling for a draw so that they can look so they'll both be in contention for the second leg. It happened with Orlando Pirates against Al Ahly. Happens nearly, when you get to the knockout stages in Europe, that first leg can be quite canny and not decisive. As long as it's not decisive, no one wants to lose 4-1 in the first leg, 4-0 in the first leg, because then they know they're done and there's no point. It's like Ghana, this weekend we've got Ghana, Egypt, where Ghana is 6-1 up after the first leg. Nigeria must be regretting, trying to pull goals back in that one. So if we're going to take two bets of 500, Brandon, if you ask me France to get a draw in Ukraine or Sweden to get a draw in France, I think I prefer Sweden, but it's a difficult one.
Okay, no, I agree with you there, most definitely. And I think the other 500 rand bet, maybe we look towards the rugby.
Good.
We were right last week with South Africa giving Wales a good old thumping.
Yeah.
And geez, it was close there for a while.
It was for a while, wasn't it?
The try, and it was in front of the kicker for that unbelievable try between Farid and Priya.
Yeah, it was a great try.
But, at the end of the day, they're playing Scotland now. If you remember the last time they played, Scotland were leading the game for a long time. South Africa to come back and win it.
That was
massive that day.
And so that was when Scotland came here last year, wasn't it?
That's right. That's the last time.
Or was it earlier in this year? But I was watching that game in a very Afrikaans environment in Pretoria, and obviously, having a Scottish grandmother, I was kind of making the wrong noises. But generally, people were quite friendly towards me in this place. And Scotland, I thought, gave them a very, very good game out here. But whether at Murrayfield, Murrayfield's got to be seen to be believed. In a non-rugby country like Scotland, Murrayfield really gets going when the Scottish are doing well. That would be my one slight worry. But the only way we're going to get good odds is to back Scotland, isn't it? What are Scotland's odds here? You'd win about £1 million rand back, wouldn't you, for betting on Scotland? Especially with the South African bookmaker, 33-1. No, what is it? 7-1.
No, Scotland betting at 7-1.
Mate,
I think they should be more than 7-1. I think the bookies are being a little bit cheeky there.
See, I can't possibly say that.
The last time South Africa went there, I think they lost. I think Scotland got one over them.
Was it the time before last or last time? Yeah, no, I was reading something about that. Yeah.
That's right, the time before. So it's not the best ground for us. But geez, once again, I'm going to say it again. That forward pack will smash them into tomorrow. I don't know if I'd take... you can't back South Africa to win the game. You have to back South Africa on the minus.
Oh, I see, on the handicap.
South Africa, they need to win by 15 points. Which they should do, but you never know. Scotland at Murrayfield come and get a cheeky try at the end to knock you out of your bet.
Worse than that, I remember it must be 15 years ago. England went there to win the Grand Slam in the old Six Nations, and we had a great side. It was Carling, Rob Andrew, the side that went on to not win the World Cup, actually, the one before the side that did. And the Scottish thumped England and threw the Calcutta Cup around afterwards and broke it. and you've got to understand that the Scottish are a strange. They wear skirts and they get very, very passionate, and they eat strange things like haggises. And I just, is there any way that you'd look at England versus New Zealand as a possible secondary bet, or will South Africans be interested in that?
100%. I've got that one open in front of me.
Yeah, good.
And I was just going to say to you that I think the last side, I could be mistaken, the last side to beat the All Blacks were England at Twickenham. I could be wrong. I know they beat them there because I caught a massive treble that day on England at Plus, so I do remember that. Yeah. But I think that England can upset New Zealand at Twickenham. They're a good side. They got a good coach. New Zealand, they battled against France in the first half. I don't know if anybody watched the game. France should have been up at half-time. And then, bar a few bad defensive errors from the French, New Zealand went on to win the game by a mere 7 points. My thing is they've got to lose sometime. England at Twickenham, when the fans start singing, to bring home the chariot or whatever they sing, that could be...
Swing low, sweet chariot. Coming for to carry me home.
That's right.
I can sing you that one if you want.
You should know that.
Okay, mate. Listen, the one I saw, 2003, we went to that biscuit ting, cake ting thing in Wellington the year before, the months before England won the World Cup in 2003, and England beat them on home soil for the first time. I was there for that one. I'm looking at the results here. Overall, 35 games, 27 won by New Zealand, 7 won by England, 1 drawn. That's a pretty comprehensive triumph for the All Blacks. 27 out of 35 games won against England. I'm suddenly starting to doubt myself on this one. Do you think we should take the 13-point handicap on South Africa to beat Scotland? Is that what you're telling me? Betting guru?
It's either that or I would go for England plus 12.5 against New Zealand. I don't think New Zealand will smash them at home. I really don't.
Are Carter and McCaw both playing? Did I hear that this morning on the way in? That they're pulling out all their big guns. You know what it's going to be like.
I think they play worse rugby when Carter's on the field. To be honest, I mean they won a World Cup without him.
Yeah.
I just don't think they'll smash England. I really, really don't. It's up to you guys. I'll leave the toss of the coin to you if you want to go with South Africa on the minus. Although that should be the stronger bet. I mean, they should beat Scotland and beat them comprehensively. But you never know. Those cheeky Scots, they start showing their bums to everyone. And
That's it. That's what we're talking. Braveheart. So you can't legislate for Braveheart. Was he an Australian, Mel Gibson? Okay, mate, listen, great stuff. Brandon, I'm going to put a couple of these to Thumper Pigeon in a minute, to Leon Petzo, and we'll come back to you. Maz will be back to you, to your World Sports Betting guys and some of your other guys on your site, www.topodds.com, and we'll decide where our R1,000 is going to go this week for charity, see if we can make a profit again for Wings of Change. Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks a lot, Neil. Cheers.
Great stuff, mate. Cheers. Bye-bye. So, Covered, I guess the only thing to do now is to phone Leon, and he's the guy that's put up R5,000 for us to bet, and the profits from that go to charity. I get very stressed by this. When I was watching Arsenal, I was worried about it, and when Newcastle were playing Spurs, even more so, that Spurs might get an equaliser and take that money away from Wings of Change. So, if we can just get Thumper Pigeon up at Thumper Pigeon on Twitter. I'm at Neil Cole, Nealcol on Twitter. And Comfort K's my producer. He's also there. Maz is there, but she's got all underscores. I can't read it out. Underscore Maz underscore. Is it Maz? We're all here. We're all there on Twitter. There's a picture of me now floating about with the Moles Arsenal polo shirt on, looking very red and middle-aged. It's all there. And we're going to try and get hold of Leon. Leon, are you there?
Yeah.
Leon, did you hear any of that discussion I just had with Brandon from TopOdds?
I did, yes.
Good. We're going to go with LM Bookmaker. We're going to put R500 on 2 games. I think I'd like to try for a draw, Sweden in Portugal. What do you think?
Sounds like a good call.
Let's try that one. And then what about rugby? You have 2 choices here. Do you want to bet on England, New Zealand, or do you want to bet on South Africa to win by more than 30? Is it more than 15, isn't it? More than 15 against Scotland. What do you think?
I think the South Africa more than 15 against Scotland. New Zealand always struggle against the French, so I don't think that's necessarily a good thing to go by. Go by their performance against the French. I think they'll beat England, not by much, but they'll beat them. I think their first loss will probably come to us next year, but I don't think it's really now.
Okay, mate. Leon, let's go with that. So those are the two bets. Maz is sitting, at her computer doing her busy thing, and she is going to now put 500 Rand with LM Bookmaker through www.topodds.com on Sweden to get a surprise point against Portugal at good odds. I'm not sure exactly what those odds are. We will find out a bit later. And Leon, the second one on your advice, because I know my rugby. I used to be very into rugby, but I also know that Scotland are capable of doing strange things on any sports field, even cricket sometimes. But generally, football and rugby, the Scots can come out with some very, very interesting performances when you think they're finished, and then when they're playing a game that they should win, they lose. That kind of thing. It's that kind of small nation. Did I say small nation? No, it's a big nation. So I'm going to say that the Springboks are going to get more than 15 points over Scotland, and that also is not a bad bet. And we could come out with a profit if we win both those bets. Those are the two bets for the weekend, Leon. Thanks for your help again, as always, with your 5,000 Rand for charity. Great stuff.
A pleasure.
Thanks,
Good.
Leon.
Thanks,
Great stuff. That's at Thumper Pigeon on Twitter, guys. Leon Petzer, out of the blue, decided that he'd come up with a 5,000 Rand for us to bet on TopOdds.com. And we all get quite nervous in this studio, Comfort and Maz and me and various other people that are involved with the show, worried that we can't throw this 5,000 Rand away. It's a great opportunity to make money for Wings of Change. And as I said just now, just last week, Wings of Change was giving money to a lad called Eddie who was out of a job, needed some help. Needed a bit of charity, and we got it to him, and we're getting back on his feet. So those are our two bets, Maz. Bollocks! 2 hours of solid football.
Visual Radio. Weekdays from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central African Time. Radio like you've never seen it before. balls.co.za